Alright guys, so welcome back to another episode of Hardman Fishing Adventures and the second installment, I should say, of the Fly Fishing for Beginners series. So, if you don't know, this is a little series that I've decided to kind of put together that is controlled by you guys. So each video is kind of like an educational video, and it'll teach you something like what flies to use, what leader to use, how to streamer fish, whatever it may be. And it's controlled by you guys, and what I mean by that is, after you watch this video, if there's something that you want to know, leave a comment down below, and the most liked comment is what I'll make the next video on. So what that means is you guys are literally controlling this series and you're controlling what videos are made. Okay, so the most liked comments on the last video there's two that I'm going to choose for this one particularly. So the first one is by Jeffrey Reynolds, and it says, as you know, there are hundreds of fly patterns available, and honestly going into a fly shop can be overwhelming. I think it would be very helpful if you could do a layout display of the flies you're using. This way we could actually see what the specific flies look like and have an easier time picking them out. Thank you. So that's what this video is kind of be about. So the idea behind this video is I'm going to choose my 3 favorite nymphs, my 3 favorite dry flies, and my 3 favorite streamers. And I'm going to try to catch a fish on one of each of the 3 flies. So like I'm going to catch 1 fish on a nymph, 1 fish on a dry fly, and 1 fish on a streamer. So the second comment is a comment from Skippy7896. Now this wasn't the most liked comment, but I just wanted to kind of use it or put it along with this or in this video. And it says, I think that it would be really important to go over how you keep your dry flies floating. When I first started fly fishing, I was struggling with this, and there really isn't much info on it. So I'm going to answer that one when I go over the dry fly segment. Now, I don't necessarily have all these flies sitting in front of me right now because I just was out brook trout fishing, trying to film the nymphing part of this video, but I will show a picture of the fly so that you guys know what they generally look like. And I want to start off this video by saying that one of the things that I was told when I first started fly fishing was it's more about the correct drift than it is about the correct fly. So what that means is you can catch a fish on a good drift with the wrong fly, but if you have a bad drift with the right fly, you still may not catch the fish. So keep that in mind when you're out there fishing. But before we get too far into this video, this whole series is sponsored by Postfly. Now, if you don't know what Postfly box is, Postfly is a subscription fly box that will send you a box filled with flies and all sorts of other goodies each month that will help you catch fish where you live. Now, each box has hand-picked flies from guides in your region. So each box is region specific. So wherever you live, they will have flies curated for that region. There are also salmon boxes, there are fly tying boxes, there are bass slash warm water species boxes. They've got all sorts of goodies for you guys. So now here's a box that I literally just received today. Let's take a look and see what's in it real quick for you guys. So we have a floatant kit. Now look at that. This is actually perfect, because this is what one of these things on the video is about. So guys, if you want to know how to float your dry fly, the first thing is this right here. I call it floating powder. This says bug dust, powdered floating, perfect. This is what you use after, if your dry fly is already wet and you're kind of trying to dry it off real quick so you can keep casting and keep catching fish on it. This powder right here is basically absorbs water. So instead of blowing on it until you're blue in the face, you can you basically dap your fly inside of this, and yeah, it makes it dry and it'll float it for at least another dozen casts or so before it starts sinking again. But before you actually cast your fly out, you're going to put on some gel. Now, this is the gel that just came in the Post Fly box. This gel, you're going to put it on your flies before you cast them, and you let that floating gel dry a little bit. And basically, the gel is it's like waterproofing, so like it sheds water, so your fly takes, I don't know, quadruple as long before it'll start sinking. Now obviously this stuff just prolongs the inevitable. Eventually your dry flies are going to start sinking anyway, but that's honestly hilarious that they have floating in this fly box. So look, if you've gotten a Post Fly box, you get a floating kit. I have a sick trout sticker, which is cool because I'm trout fishing. Looks like a glasses case. That's a rainbow trout glasses case. And I've got a headlamp here, so that's cool, so I can actually be able to see to get the heck out of here because it's almost dark and I'm sitting here making a freaking fishing video. 5X leader, which is exactly what I use for brook trout. There's the flies that came in this month's Post Fly box. So go check out Post Fly box. Now the reason they're sponsoring this video is because I truly believe, and I'm not kidding you guys, I truly believe that a Post Fly box is the best way to get started into fly fishing, because they send you flies every month and you get to test out each one of these flies, and if you like the flies, you can go buy more. If you don't like the flies, you can throw them out. Maybe not throw them out, but you know what I mean. If you're new to fly fishing, try Post Fly box. Seriously, I wish I'd had it when I started, and I just didn't. So anyway, use code HardmanPFB for, I think it's $15 off your first Post Fly box. If that's wrong, I'll have a little correction statement down here, but go check out Post Fly box, and thanks Post Fly, as always, for sponsoring this series. Let's get back into the action. I'm gonna start off with streamers real quick. So I think the streamers kind of fall into 3 categories. You've got like your really small streamers that you use for maybe brook trout, or just really small stream stuff when you're not really looking for giant brown trout. You've got your kind of medium-sized streamers that you can use for everything, both small stream and for really big fish if you need to. And then you've got your gigantic streamers, which you use on places like the White River or streams where you know that you have a good chance at like a 2-foot brown. So my favorite little tiny streamer right now is gonna be a leech. Now, I use, a leech is really popular out west. Out east, a lot of people don't use it as much, but it's basically just any kind of like tungsten bead-headed like woolly bugger type thing that you can kind of bounce off the bottom. I've used those very effectively for brook trout in the winter, and they're just killer, man. But really any like really heavy hitting streamer, even a heavy woolly bugger will do the same thing. My favorite medium-sized streamer is a laser legal. Now laser legals I use for everything from big brown trout. Andrew caught a 25.5-inch brown trout on a laser legal a couple years back, and we've caught everything from 25.5-inch brown trout to 12-inch native brook trout on laser legals. So those are like killer streamers, and I have them in my box everywhere I go. I've got at least 5 of them. So my favorite articulated streamer, this changes monthly, but right now it's probably gonna have to be the Circus Peanut. And the reason I like the Circus Peanut is because it's got a little bit of weight to it, so it gets down, and it's got a little bit of flash, a little bit of legs, a little bit of marabou. It's got pretty much everything in a streamer that I could ask for, and I've been using it, and I've been catching a lot of really big fish on it recently. Honorable mentions are the Sex Dungeon, because Sex Dungeons work everywhere. They probably would have been my favorite if you'd asked me last year at this time. And then ones like the Cheech Leech, Butt Monkey, all those streamers are just killer streamers that you should have in your box. I could do a whole segment on streamers, to be honest with you. I mean, I could talk Tom Blue in the face about them. But here's a clip of me catching some fish on a Circus Peanut. Got him. That was so cool. It's a rainbow, but that was so cool, man. Oh my gosh, can't stand up. That fish followed it way out of that hole. Come on, buddy. It's a decent rainbow trout. Decent one. So guys, this fish was caught on the, chill out. This fish right here, he was caught on a Circus Peanut. So there you go. Thanks for playing, buddy. Back to where he came from. I'm gonna cast one more time up in the head of this though before I go too far. It'd be cool if I could catch a brown for you guys. Got one. That is a brown trout. There we go. So, got a brown trout and a rainbow trout in the same freaking run, basically. This is a wild brownie. Hey, buddy, chill out, dude. I'm gonna let you go just like I let that rainbow go. There you go, guys. Probably a 15, 16-inch wild brown. Again on the Sex Dungeon. Bye, buddy. Back to the hole in which you came from. All right, so we're gonna go into dry flies next just because that's what I've been using a lot recently. Now, I would like to remind everybody that I live out east, and I know that Andrew's out in Colorado right now and he's using a lot of size like 20 to 22 type stuff, but I don't use that out east just because you really don't have to usually. My favorite dry flies right now is obviously a stimulator. It's killer. And if you're buying a stimulator, you get it in like size 10, 12, maybe 14. Like those are bigger flies that you use for like really opportunistic brook trout and other freestone trout when there's big hatches going off. A smaller fly that everybody should have in their box is an elk hair caddis. Now, elk hair caddis I usually have in like maybe size 14 to 16, maybe an 18, and they're just killer flies that work all times of the year. So always have one of those in your box. And then usually for like a really small dry fly, typically what I carry is like a Parachute Adams, and usually I'll carry those in like size 16 to 20 when I'm out east. And those flies seem to just slay when like maybe you're getting refusals with your bigger flies. if you usually downsize, which I know I mentioned that in the last video, but if you downsize, you can almost always catch your fish. And obviously, I'd like to point out there's a billion different variations of dry flies. Like there's a billion different variations of parachute Adams. There's a billion different variations of a L. caricatus and a stimulator. So as you start fishing, these are like good baseline flies, but as you start fishing, you'll kind of figure out flies, like different little color patterns and stuff that work better for where you are. So anyway, this is me catching a fish on a dry fly. Ooh! I don't know, I wonder what that is even. Is that a native? I think it is. It's a native, and I think it's a nice native. A halfway decent fish, at least. Oh no, it's a little wild brown. Well, that's cool. Hey there, buddy. Chill out. Chill out. And guys, this fish came on the L. caricatus. I believe this is probably a size 14-ish. Look at that. Little wild brownie on a dry fly. On a dry size 14 caddis, which is what one of the dry flies I just talked about. What a beautiful little fish. Thanks, buddy. That's cool. All right, last and not least is nymphing. Now, I could probably break up nymphing into categories of Euro-nymphing and just like more regular style or more traditional nymphs. But what I'm gonna say about nymphing is if you're not getting down into the strike zone or near the bottom of the creek, then you're not nymphing properly. I mean, obviously there's different times of the year where they might be eating emergers, so they're eating mid-water column, but a general rule of thumb is you wanna get deep. So when I first started nymphing, I had not trouble. Trouble's not the right word, but I didn't catch nearly as many fish as I could have if I had been getting deeper with my nymphs. And that's just something you learn over time. But I'm just gonna mention 3 like very basic patterns that you can buy anywhere. And if you walk into your local fly shop and ask for these flies, they're gonna have them. First one is a pheasant tail. Now, pheasant tails are universal. I've caught trout in Colorado on a pheasant tail in the South Platte, and I've caught fish out east on pheasant tails. I've caught fish on pheasant tails in the White River. I mean, I catch them everywhere on a pheasant tail. It's just a universal fly that looks like a lot of different bugs. The second one is a hare's ear. A hare's ear to me is like a little bit flashier pheasant tail. It's a little bit lighter colored hair, and it's got a little bit of flash on it typically. And they're a little bit brighter fly that you can use to just get some fish's attention. Like I really like them for rainbow trout, for example. And then the third one, this one's up in the air. I decided to throw in like an attractor, more of an attractor style nymph. So I threw in a rainbow warrior just because they've been working really well for brook trout and rainbow trout and even brown trout out here. But I've got to give honorable mentions. I'm sorry guys, I have to do it. I have to give honorable mentions to things like some of the quote unquote trash flies, which are probably the easiest flies to catch fish on, like the mop fly and the San Juan worm and the greeny weenie. If you guys do not have trash flies in your box, you're fly fishing wrong. So seriously, grab some of those flies. But anyway, this is me catching some trout on a pheasant tail. And a pretty nice brook trout at that, so watch this. There we go. A little bit bigger fish. Still not a giant, but at least that fish is bigger than, oh, it's a little rainbow. Looky there. First and only rainbow of the day too. Sweet. Well, I haven't proven that this is gonna catch big fish, but I think this time of the year in this creek, the big fish have just moved up, I assume. And I don't know that for a fact because the water temp's fine here, but you know how it is. Anyway, wild rainbow, native brookies on a little pheasant tail. Works pretty much everywhere in the country. So yeah, say goodbye to this guy, and guess we'll I'll cast a few more times in here, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this video out. So yeah, let's see if I can catch one more just for the funsies of it, you know, why not? Huh. Well. Oh, it's not a bad fish. Oh, wow, what a native, dude. That's so sick. I was about to literally turn the GoPro off too. Jeez, that's incredible. Last cast, last fish, boys. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this style of video. And as I said at the beginning of the video, leave a comment and let me know what you want the next video to be on, and then read through the comments and see if there's something that you like the idea of, and give that comment a like, because you guys are literally controlling where this video goes. So thank you guys so much for watching. One last thing, a lot of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed, so a huge way to help me would be to subscribe to this video. It's a completely free way to support me, basically. So I put a lot of effort into these videos, and yeah, I mean, this video was filmed over the course of weeks, to be honest with you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode of Hardman Fishing Adventures.